Franconia Community Church and the Briggs family, I'd like to welcome you all to this service. There's a lot of history in this room, and as we reflect on Yuhang Briggs' life, you all in this room have been part of his history. And I know that, let me put it this way, I know Yuhang well enough so that he would want this to be an occasion of joy and thanksgiving and gratitude, not a time when there's crying and tears and sadness. Because that wasn't in him. That wasn't his nature. So, welcome. The last couple of months of Yuhang's life were very difficult. He was in immense pain. Those of us who know him and knew him even as a kid, he was always in pain because he had juvenile rheumatoid arthritis. And so he was always having to have pain medication, and even with the medication, he endured a lot of pain. And the last few months of his life were no different. And so in his passing, he, in a way, the conversations that we had on the phone before he passed were, let me put it this way, it was his time to leave us. A long-time friend of his and person who's close was a nurse, Chris, and she stayed with him pretty much along with Alexander. Alexander, are you here? Yeah. And when I talked to her after he passed, I thanked her for, as I'm thanking Alex right now, for being there, being present, to offer strength and comfort to Yuhang. And she said, when I thanked her, well, I wanted to do it because he was a part of my life. So all of you in this room have been a part of Yuhang's life. So fear not, for I am with you, says our God. Be not dismayed, for I am your God, and I will strengthen you, I will help you, and I will uplift you with my right hand. And so we gather here in the protective shelter of God's healing love. Here we are free to pour out grief, release anger, face emptiness, and know in the midst of this that God cares. We gather here as God's people, conscious of others who have died and of the frailty of our own existence in this world. We come to give comfort and support to one another in our common loss. And we gather to hear God's word of hope that can drive away despair. And so we gather to commend to God with thanksgiving the life of Yuhang Briggs. And we celebrate the good news that God is with us as God is with him. You may wonder how Yuhang got to Franconia. It was certainly a miracle. And one of the people who sort of led the charge in the miracle was a guy who once upon a time was on our staff here at the church, along with Paula and myself, Peter Pond. Peter was kind of the Lawrence of, not Arabia, but Lawrence of Southeast Asia. And he worked very hard and tirelessly to get as many people out of the clutches of Pol Pot. Yu Hang was one of those people. And he came to Franconia with his brother. And they lived in Littleton for the first few months of their being here. And it was a day, it might have been actually today, that he went sledding with his brother, and they went sledding at Mount Eustis, which is a pretty good hill for sledding. Not so great for skiing, not big enough, but it's a good hill for sledding. And his brother passed away with a disease called sudden death syndrome, which is basically when your heart fails. And his heart failed, and Yu Hang didn't have any place to go because his sister lived in California, so he came to live with us. And he was maybe 8 years old at the time. He was attending the elementary school here in Franconia. You guys probably remember him well. He, like all of our people in the room here who are of Cambodian descent, it's a difficult transition into a different culture. And there are cultural habits and laws. Mulan and I were joking this morning about one of the things that Yu Hang couldn't stand when he first came to live with us was dogs. And of course, as all of Briggs' family knows, there's always been a dog in our house. So we finally had to say to Yu Hang, look, the dog is here to stay, so you're going to stay. You better get along with the dog. And so he did. He got along with the dog. And it was great. He had a lot of interesting experiences. Gary might tell you later, if not during the service, he might tell you afterwards, some of the experiences and interactions that he has had with you. But I remember one incident, thinking of cultural misunderstanding. Fortunately, you all are in for a treat because there's just going to be the most scrumptious, good Cambodian food that's better food than you get in a Cambodian restaurant. I know that for a fact. And so after the service, we're all in for a treat. But I thought I would treat Yu Hang when he first came to live with us. So I took him to the Dutch treat, and we sat there. Then they had a lunch counter. It was sort of like a Woolworths lunch counter. And we sat down at the counter, and I ordered a great American standby, a hamburger, right? He wasn't impressed. He took the hamburger, as a matter of fact, and he threw it at the waitress. So I just had to apologize and ask Yu Hang to say he was sorry, which he did. The last year of Yu Hang's experiences at Profile, we moved. I was called to ministry in the New York conference, and so I went to live in New York, and we lived in a place called Erieville, which fortunately was right near Hamilton. And Hamilton was the location of Colgate College. And Yuhang applied to Colgate and was accepted and went to Colgate for 4 years. And he was only about 8 miles from us, so we could communicate back and forth. And of course, he was there on weekends. He joined a fraternity, which I wasn't very excited about, because any of you who know me know that I don't have a great love for fraternities. But he joined a fraternity, and he loved his fraternity, and because Yuhang loved relationships. He loved to make friends and work with people and get together, and he loved Colgate. Wherever he went, he always had a Colgate hat that he would wear, or a Colgate sweatshirt that he'd wear. After he graduated from Colgate, he went back to Cambodia, back to Phnom Penh. And he would call us or communicate with us, and he'd tell us that he started a school. It was actually a college, and it was called the Cambodian American Business School. And I kind of smirked and said to myself, a business school? How could you do that? Or how could that be possible? But I went to Cambodia myself, to Phnom Penh, a couple of years after the school had gotten going. And sure enough, there was a whole big building that took up more than half a block. And in the building, there were 12 faculty members. And of course, Yuhang is the administrator of the school, the administrator. And there were about 300 students. And I thought that was pretty amazing. And the students, they weren't people who this was not a business school, quite like, say, Harvard Business School. It was a business school that was to train and help people who, what was happening in Cambodia during that time was that there was a growing and emerging middle class. And the people who made up this class were people who were entrepreneurs. In fact, Yuhang's natural parents were entrepreneurs themselves. They had a fish market in the central market, which was in the middle of Phnom Penh. And so what Yuhang's business school did was train and help people who ran small stores, gasoline stations, any kind of entrepreneurial activity in all of Cambodia, for that matter, would come to his school and spend a year there and learn the practice of how to do business. So that was pretty amazing, I thought. Well, he did that for a number of years, and then he sold the business school, and he came back to Boston and went to Boston University and got an MBA there. And then he returned back to Cambodia, and he became the general manager of the second largest advertising firm in really, I think, all of Southeast Asia, even bigger than. I mean, he was competing with Thailand and Laos and lots of different places and countries even in Southeast Asia. And he had a big staff there, and we went to visit him again, and driving into town, there was this picture of a beautiful woman who was on a billboard, a huge big billboard, as big as half of this room, and as tall as this room. It was huge. And Paula was on the billboard, Mulan's mom. And so I thought that was pretty amazing. So the way probably to describe Yu Hang is that he was an influencer. That's a new term that people use with, like, people do Facebook pages and they influence other people in terms of what they do, think, develop. So he, I think that's the way I would describe him. He was a connector. He connected people to people. He knew everybody in Phnom Penh. It didn't matter where you would go. If you went to the Central Market, you knew everybody in the market. Everybody who ran a stall or had a store. He knew everybody in the American embassy. Because he was a U.S. citizen, he had kind of a special connection there. And so a lot of his friends, and if the embassy wanted to know something, or get some advice about this or that, like USAID or something like that, they would go to Yu Hang, and he would give them the kind of inside scoop of what. So he touched a lot of people, and a lot of people liked it because he was kind. He was kind of a gentle spirit, and he was loyal to his friends. I could say a lot more about Yu Hang, but I'm not going to, because I've gone over my allotted time. But I'm going to invite you to share your remembrances of Yu Hang. Yu Hang's last words to his mother Susie and me was, "I wanted you to be proud of me." Well, as the parents I can tell of Yu Hang, I can tell you that we are very proud of Yu Hang. And I invite you to share your stories, your remembrances of Yu Hang as well. So I'm going to sit down and go here, so please feel free to speak.
I'll start, I guess. Just thinking about my dad talking about Yu Hang school. I was with my husband on a business trip in Southeast Asia, and Yu Hang was like, "You've got to come visit. You're always in Thailand, you're always in Indonesia, but you never come to Cambodia." And I was like, okay. So we said, well, we're coming. And at the time, I think we had opened our first store, our first jewelry retail store, and you guys know our family, that's what we do. And Yu Hang had just started his school in Phnom Penh. And he was so smart in so many ways, like a brilliant human being. Not just in business, but with people, with anything. He was a bridge builder, but he really wanted to spark up some publicity for his school. And, he was like, "Yeah, I got this school." I'm like, yeah, whatever. I just want to come see Phnom Penh. We arrived at the airport, and before we even got to customs, Yu Hang was there. We didn't wait in line. I didn't show my passport to anybody. We were waved through. Come on. If anyone knows the airport in Phnom Penh, it's not very big. But as soon as we started to get into the common areas, there was press everywhere. And there were armed guards there, and like men with, rifles and, like TV stations, newspaper stations, and all of these women really, dressed traditionally and beautiful, and all had traditional flowered leis, and we were like, oh my God, what's going on here? And we walked through, and it was all for us. That we were these big, successful American business people that were coming to speak at his school. I did not know that. He said to me, oh, by the way, in 3 hours, we got a couple hundred students, you got to put together something, just 20 minutes, that's all I'm asking. I'm like, I'll put together a motivational speech, okay. So here I'm like stressing out, and we're in this big SUV, and there are 2 motorcycles in front with rifles, 2 motorcycles in back with rifles, having nothing to do for safety, just for the publicity of it all, to further the school. That, he would be getting all this press and everything from the school. So finally we did this speech, and, I fudged through it however I could to make it seem, like we were what he had thought we were. Come on, please.
So darling, come. Hi, son.
And it was just, I don't know, Yang was an amazing person. One of my best friends in this world, having nothing to do with him being my brother. He was fun, he was kind, he was loving. And in the first 20 years that I knew him, he could eat more than anybody I ever knew. He just had starved so much in his life that it used to be a joke, come like a Thanksgiving roast. Who was going to eat more prime rib? Was it going to be Yuhang, or was it going to be Dim? Because they both could like pack away these huge amounts of food. And I don't know why I brought that up. I guess because of the school, but he was an amazing, amazing person and a really good friend. And I'm really lucky and thankful that he kept in touch with Sophie and his family, because they're our family as well, And Mulan and Alex. You'll hear more stories about your dad. He really was an amazing human being. To go through what he did in his life and become what he became, and in the spirit in which he did it. He was just always such a kind person. And a really good brother.
Hi, my name is Gary Young. I'm delighted to meet some of your Hang's family here. My wife, Mrs. Young, she used to be the local taxi for all the kids. Hugh Hang was one of those. Along with all the Briggs children, and Josh, Lucy, Billy, she had a big old station wagon, and at any given time you'd find about a dozen kids stuffed in there somewhere. And I was a police chief, and Yuhang was having some tough times there for a while. And he borrowed the neighbor's car.
Charlie Stewart's.
And took a little side turn. Well, it wasn't too hard to figure out who'd done it. There was fresh snow on the ground, and I was able to track all the way back through the fresh snow from the neighbor's house, and ended up on Asheville. Is everybody accounted for here? We seem to have a missing vehicle. Well, it wasn't too hard to figure out what was going on. It was one of those situations, it wasn't necessary to get the courts involved. Okay. Back in that day, we handled things for the good of the child, and it didn't involve an arrest, didn't have to. You have to recognize when some kid is having a tough time. Thankfully to Bill and his lovely wife, they did so much for so many kids. Johan was typical boy. Okay, I dealt with a lot of them over the years, and you know, and I wouldn't have him any other way.
Nat, are you? I know you're here. Yeah. He actually was coming to see you. When he,
Yes, when he want like Cambodian food, he always come to me.
He actually stole the car.
Yeah. He was only 12 years old.
He drove his big mom and dad's car to Boston.
Yeah, Gary, I remember he knocked on my window, and I said to myself, oh my God, what did I do? And then I ran over to Yuan's room, and the window was open, and it's the middle of the winter, and I was like, oh my God.
If I recall, I think Yuhang had no idea, but wasn't there like $800 in cash in the car at the time? I think in the car.
Yeah, one time I asked him why he did it, and he said, well, I didn't, that was not his plan. That was not the plan. He was just kind of running away a little bit, and then he got, this place is, the neighbors is like a half a mile, 3/4 of a mile down the road. And he was walking the road in the middle of the night, which could be like 20 below zero. And then he saw a car, and he was cold. So he just said, my first idea was to get in the car. And then, this is Franconia, Sugar Hill, everyone just leaves the key in the ignition. So then he said, I was so cold, I just started the car to get warm. And then he started thinking about it, and he really didn't even know how to drive. I don't know how he got down the Boston.
And he packed it from my house.
He parked right in front of the house. He called Bill right over there. Your hand's here.
no.
So it wasn't even where he was going.
But the last time he gets sick, we be like four together, my sister-in-law, look like he come to say goodbye to us. Yeah, like 4 months ago, he say like, okay, sister, come. I said, come where? Okay, we go to casino. Yeah, we all play. Yeah. We don't sleep. Yeah, and Molan, we come in the hotel. Molan, we sleep in the hotel with all my kids. And me and him play together. He cannot even walk good. He's very sick. And we talk to him. I say, why don't you stay here and take care of yourself? He said, no, it's okay, sister. I have to go back. And then we play overnight, and he don't sleep. I said, you want to rest a little bit? He said, no. I want to sleep party with you. And only him, he's my brother, so here, him, we always hang out. So we stay overnight. And he said, okay, sister, I have to fly back. We put him in the airport. That's it. I never heard from him. Yeah. From that time, like 4 months ago.
I have just a quick story. We also, me and my best friend, to visit Ukraine. And it was kind of a similar situation to what Lucy was talking about, but in a different way. I think it was Justin, maybe, or Ben, I can't remember, who wanted to go see a boxing match. There was a big Muay Thai fight going on. So we were like, okay, great. And Yuhang's like, okay, no problem. We'll go see the fight. So we get to this big stadium. And it was a pretty big stadium. There must have been at least 5,000 or 6,000 people in the stadium. And there are fights going on. The crowd is cheering. And we were like way, we pulled up way in the back. And it was like, we could barely see the ring. That's how far away we were. And I was like, Yuhang, how are we going to do this? Because he said, no, just come with me. And it was strange. And the way the ring, there's the boxing ring. And then next to the boxing ring, there was this big couch literally up on the stage where thousands of people. So you have the boxing ring and the couch. And Yuhang ushered us through this crowd all the way through. And then we went up onto the stage and sat in the couch to watch the fight. Literally ringside. Like the fighters were like where Sotia is right there. That's how close we were. And it was really awkward because there were other, like a general, sitting on the couch and just various people, but not many. There were like 4 or 5 people up on the couch, and then of course us. How Yuhang got us up there, I don't know, but it was just that's how Yuhang lived. He kind of had a double life. In Cambodia, like in that school, one of his teachers, I believe, it was either a student or a teacher, went on to become the Minister of Tourism in Cambodia, or something like that. So Yuhang was very connected to these people. And everywhere in Phnom Penh, Yuhang was kind of a big shot. But anyway, that's my
He once sat in and voted at the UN for Cambodia. I don't know what it was for. I don't know how that happened. But just one more little trivia, like, are you kidding me? How did you end up sitting in and being able to represent Cambodia and vote at the UN? But that was Yuhang. Yuhang was amazing like that.
I'm Sotia, his best friend. I got a story, one story. Same thing with Josh. It was the boxing match, right? So this crowd. So there's, I said, hey, can't see. So what he did was like he saved like 10 chairs in front of the ring. So we sat. We walked in there, we sat. I said, hey, Hang, if you're so big, why don't you put us photo during the commercial? So during the round, they took break, they show us, like, put me and her in the commercial. That happened. So it was good. I mean, another time we catch a flight, so I'm afraid I was going to lose my flight. So my sister took me to the train, to the airport. He didn't take me, so he's get upset. I sat on my chair in the plane, phone call in the plane. Asked who I was. Are you Sotia? I said, yes. Phone call for me. Hang. He started swearing at me. Like, next time, wait for him. I said, okay, dude, next time I'll meet you. So he just showed me a very good time every time I see him. He showed me that he can do anything in Cambodia, basically. Which, well, I miss him. So, 40 years.
Fight a lot.
I be fine. Yeah, be fine. Yeah, that's okay. We're friends. That's what we do. But I enjoy every moment with him. He's like a brother to me. This place is very special to Mr. Briggs, Mr. Smile, Carmen. You touched me. You guys brought us here. So thank you.
Well, I'll make this very short, but one thing about you was that we loved And then, so many years back, a couple of us were in Bali. Maybe you were there. I didn't have my kids at that time. And then he sent me an email, or we called, and I was like, he's like, what are you doing in Bali? Why didn't you tell me you're coming? I was like, I don't know, we're just here for a few days. Then he was like, okay, I'm coming over. So within 24 hours, Yu Hang was calling us from the airport. Our friend, who was also our driver for many years over there, literally, we were at the other side of the island, got on a motorcycle, and drove like 5 hours across the island, picked Yu Hang up, drove him back, and we were partying. You know, literally about 12 hours after I talked to him. And we had to travel from Cambodia to Indonesia. So that was just kind of the guy he was. He didn't want to miss a party.
Yeah.
I don't know, were you there?
Yeah.
And it's not pride, it's not because we're trying to celebrate wonderful life. It's just being in this church and seeing all of you. But we went for other adventures in Vermont 30 years ago. But all of you were so important to Yu Hang, and we missed his adult life. But everyone here is so special. And even though we haven't been here for over 30 years, you're all in our hearts, all of you, all that you did. So I don't blubber on. But I remember his smile and his spirit. But Susie and Bill and family, boy, you make my heart burst. And you always have. And all of you, the Briggs family, and all of us dear friends and family, teachers, and all of you ministers. And so thank you, because you did so much in this world, and I'm grateful to even be in your presence.
So Carolyn and I were young. We were both new to Franconia, and the Briggs family had been here for a while. And Susie were the ministers here, gathering a unique community. And Carolyn was the seed, and this church and the Briggs family were the fertile ground. And Carolyn called me up one night and said, can you join a group that might address some of the issues that are going on in Cambodia and Pol Pot? And she raised everyone's awareness, everyone's consciousness, and it was her big heart and the ability of the Briggs family to do miracles. And people started to come from Cambodia. And it changed a lot of lives here, right? So,
Well, and Peter Kahn, he was a hoot, like the man. I almost got arrested with him as we were in some of the refugee camps on the Thai border. And luckily, all the letters I was smuggling out of one of the tents, the people who our country was refusing to let in. I was so aggravated. But we were in a tent, and Peter was out walking with some officials around this camp. He knew everybody, and everybody knew him. Somehow we got connected with the UN, and we're there. And anyway, so we're in a tent, I'm in a tent, and all these people start handing me letters, and I've got tons and tons of letters. And the UN guy comes in because they thought I got taken or something. I don't know. I was walking around visiting people. And the UN guy comes in and says, what are you doing in here? I said, well, I've got all these letters. He said, get rid of those letters. You're going to be body searched. And I thought, oh, where's Peter? Where is Peter? So he was walking around. So I didn't know what to do. So this isn't, I hope this is okay to say in church. I took all the letters and I stuffed them in my bra. And I walked out. And I wasn't body searched. But Peter had been at one point, and he was put into a tiger cage, a bamboo cage in the jungle for a while. But anyway,
I wasn't arrested, but Peter was certainly one of the gang who's here in spirit. Because he was an amazing person. Thank you, Peter.
I know there are a lot more stories, but they can be told, and we can use any language we like when we tell in the Carl Schaefer Hall, where there's a vast array of food of all cultures there to partake.
Bill, before we leave, could Susan play us a beautiful song?
Oh, you don't have to.
I want to hear.
What song did you want?
Whatever.
Whatever.
How about you raise me up?
Oh, I don't have that with me. Why didn't you call me? That would be
I just want people to know that I changed my mind about what I was going to play at the end because the happiness coming off of you, what he gave to you, it's an amazing thing. I was crying. It's an amazing thing to hear from one human being, that one human being can affect so many people. And I really appreciate the fact that you guys shared that with me today. So thank you. So it was called How Can I Keep From Singing is the name of the song that I decided to play because he was singing his whole life. Like everything about him was so positive that that just seemed to fit the spirit much more than the other pieces that I've chosen. So thank you for helping me.
God, into your hands, O most merciful Savior, we commend your servant, you Ang Briggs, and acknowledge, as we humbly pray, he is a sheep of your own fold, a lamb of your own flock, and the son of your own Redeemer. Receive him into the arms of your mercy, into the beloved rest of everlasting peace, and into the company of the saints of light. And now may God bless you, may God keep you, may God's face shine upon you, and may God look upon you with kindness and give you peace. Amen.
Amen.
Thank